Welcome to the Everyday Millionaire Show with Ryan Greenberg and Nick Kalpis.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Everyday Millionaire Show. We are here in Cabo San Lucas, Mexico, about to record an impromptu podcast. We wanted to do this because, first of all, we wanted to show you this fucking crazy view that we have and do some more lifestyle content that we've been talking about doing for the last several months. So, Nick, how's it going here?
Good, man. Life is beautiful. Beautiful weather here. I mean, I know back at home today and the past couple of days have been relatively warm considering it's November now, but very nice. Very nice here in Cabo.
The service here and just like what we have, like we rented this house. It's a crazy house on this hill. Like, I mean, they literally build these houses on steep ass hills and they're just like castles. And
you definitely work your calf muscles coming up the stairs.
Yeah, you get a workout every time you come up here. But I think one of the coolest parts is like just the service we got, right? We got a concierge, this guy Juan, who just comes and takes care of everything we want. So one of the reasons for this trip, I guess we could say that, is that we try to do a company trip every year somewhere sick and like to show our appreciation to everybody that works for us. And Nick tags along, and Nick's the podcast partner, so we have to bring him too. And Justin's new sales guy. Obviously, everybody knows Chase already. He's been on the last several episodes running all the real estate sales side of things. So we like to come down here and spend some money and have some fun.
Dude, this weather is insane. The cell phone service, insane. The people, insane. Like, everybody's so nice and it's safe. It feels so safe.
Although when we first got here, I don't know what it was, and don't say it's because of my Android, but I was having trouble getting service, and then I was able to figure it out.
Well, let's talk about that. It is definitely 100% an Android issue. And if you had an iPhone, you wouldn't have those issues, just like none of us have had issues here. But not only the cell phone signal is good here, but we were offshore fishing for marlin yesterday, catching giant marlin a mile off of the beach while Adam was FaceTiming people. Like, we go offshore fishing at home and you are fucking deep. You're 60, 70 miles offshore. You can't talk to anybody. You got no communication with back home unless you have a satellite phone or Starlink or whatever. This was just like, we were looking at literally boats and girls on the beach while we were fishing a mile off the beach catching these giant, beautiful marlin. I think that
was pretty sick. And the reason for that, for those of you who don't fish, is here in Cabo, you can go, like Ryan said, half a mile offshore, still see the mountains and the shorelines, and the water depth is about 2,500 feet. Whereas if we go back home fishing, we have to go 3 hours offshore just to get that depth of water.
We're still not even in that depth, even that far off.
And it's cold.
Yeah.
Half the time it's cold, you're in bibs and everything else, like cold weather gear.
It was a little rocky though, it was very choppy. I would say the wakes were probably 6 foot to 8 feet.
They were less than that, but they seemed big. It was choppy. We definitely had some sicklings.
Yeah. Chase got sick first. I had to follow him up. I got sick.
Nick only got sick, so Chase didn't feel bad about getting sick. Not only did Chase bounce back, but as soon as he bounced back, we had hooked a 170, 180 pound blue marlin, and reeled it in like a champion. How was that? That was your first billfish, right?
That was my first billfish. That was actually the probably most intense like fish encounter I've ever had. Like, you're reeling super fast, you're fighting this fish, and you get it close. It's probably like 20 feet. Thank you so much. Thank you. And you get it close, and then it just rips 100 yards right out. Yeah. And it feels like you're holding 180 pounds just in your hands, and it's the most crazy experience. And to do that in shorts and a t-shirt when at home we'd be in like all weather gear, and it'd be nuts.
Sometimes it gets a little bit demotivating because you're working so hard and you get like a couple of cranks in, and then that fish just gets mad and it fucking goes, and it's like, all that work that you just did, that is gone.
You just reeled, your forearms are on fire. I mean, my forearm had never hurt so bad. I
had the longest fish. So it was actually, probably close to a mile, because we had 400 yards of mono. And then the fish came up. So if you don't know bill fishing, they come up, they whack the bait, and then they come back to it and they swallow it. So we had a hit, the fish left, and the mate dumped the reel. So he just put it in free spool and just let all this line out. And I was just watching the line and line and line. Then he finally hooked up, and then we saw it jump, and it literally looked like it was like 5 miles away. But it was obviously probably like 700-800 yards away. And it took me, 20 minutes at least to get.
Ryan has been preparing for the last year for that moment. All the workout routines that he has done certainly helped him out.
That is very true. I was struggling, and then somebody, I think Adam, was like, "You want somebody to help you?" I was like, "Absolutely not. This is my fish. I'm gonna take it down. Because then people will be talking shit this entire trip."
I was talking to the captain up top while you were reeling it in. He was like, yeah, the mates, he was like, they love it when the big strong men come on board and think they can just manhandle the marlin, and then they get all worn out and can't get it in. But dude, you did it, and
it was pretty cool. Like they said, we caught 4. We reeled in 4 marlin. We released them because we were hoping to get a mahi or another wahoo that we could bring home, and that was the intention, was to bring it back to have the chef cook it for dinner. And we didn't end up catching a wahoo or a mahi, so we came back with no fish. But that sea bass.
I'm not mad we didn't get that.
Yeah. So that's the other thing too. Let's talk about that real quick. Having a private chef. Top notch.
I've never had that experience, and that's just that's a different class.
So
think about how much time it saves. I mean, they're in there prepping right now. And what time is it now? It's 7?
It's 9, about 9 o'clock.
Yeah, so they've been here for like an hour and a half, prepping for breakfast.
Yeah. So we got back from our activities. Like we got back from fishing. The chefs were. Oh no, we got back from fishing. Went to play pickleball. The chefs came in, started prepping their food for 2 hours. They prepped their food for 2 hours. They made a sashimi, all sorts of all fresh fish, everything. They're in there for 2 hours prepping while we're like up the hill playing pickleball, having a good time. Then you cook. They serve you just as if you're in a restaurant, and then they clean up, and you just go back to doing whatever you're doing on vacation.
Yeah. It's like they don't want you to get up. Like they're gonna come to the dining room table in the house and bring you a refill of whatever you're drinking.
Yeah, they're making fresh margaritas, but the margaritas are actually insane. I haven't drank like really this year at all, but like we had that one day at Taco Bar, I had a couple margaritas. These
down here, you
got to, yeah.
You know what I mean?
And everything they made too, if you notice, was fresh. Like they didn't have jarred salsa. Like that lady was chopping up the tomatoes, chopping up.
3-4 hours the first night, and they were just prepping.
Yeah, I got worried. The first day they showed up so early, I was like, we just ate. I'm not ready to eat.
Yeah. He's like, no, 7.
7. I'm like, oh my God.
3 o'clock.
Yeah. They were here all day. And
let my wife see this. She's
just
gonna want that shit. God damn.
the service of, just the service. And not only the chef, the private chef, they're here for breakfast. They're here for dinner. The concierge, like property manager, whatever you want to call him, Juan, is just an awesome guy. Like you never get a rental like this that comes with just a full-time person. He not only sent us a list of stuff what we wanted to be stocked in the fridge. So we got here, the fridge is like, it looks like a professional organizer organized it with just drinks, food, fresh everything, bagels, whatever. Like, I mean, it was a massive haul of food, and all just sitting here waiting for us to get here. Like, it does save, if you think about it, like we spent a shit ton of money on all of it, but it saves you so much time. So when you're down here,
especially on a short turnaround, like 4 days, come down here, you're doing things every second. So like having that time where we didn't have to go to the grocery store, 6 of us numbnuts trying to decide what we wanted for dinner, like everything's already been decided. They get here, stock the fridge. I mean, that's a world-class experience, man.
And the neighborhood we're in is also a gated neighborhood where you have to get access through guards and another side access with a car, which is awesome because that also makes us feel a little bit more safe.
Oh, it's super safe. We've been running every morning down the marina, and what the chef last night was saying, in this neighborhood, and maybe Adam can grab the GoPro and like show like the background, but these houses are like millions of dollars. The one that we toured with Juan was like $4.5 million at the top of the hill. This one that we're staying in is like 1.6 million, and I think this is probably one of the cheaper houses in the neighborhood. He was saying people like Kevin Durant has stayed here, Leonardo DiCaprio, he was throwing out names like crazy, just like all these. Oh, John Travolta, Trump,
Yep.
just everybody and anybody that you could imagine. Like this is the spot when you come to Cabo, this neighborhood, and these fucking castles that like are literally built on a 90-degree hill.
Yeah.
It's like,
And I would say that this part of Cabo is like it's a very small town. So like this is probably like one of the.
I think all of Cabo is a very tiny little place. I think that's what the chef was saying too last night. He was like, you could go like 2 hours away and there's like another kind of similar place like this, but this is the spot. Like there's no other like spot like this. Like we're on the hill, the marina's right down the hill. We'll walk down there. The downtown area is just like a couple of blocks, I would say.
And walking distance. We got there in like 8 minutes last night.
Yeah. And you guys went out, like we went out for a little bit last night until like 10:30, 11, and it was totally safe. Like there was even it was Dia de los Muertos yesterday, and like there was kids in the street walking around. Like I felt totally safe. There was art. Yeah, it was like a whole.
To be down here for Day of the, like,
Yeah.
Day of the Dead or whatever.
That's their day too. That's
Yeah.
that's like a
Yeah,
big
so
thing.
That's dope. We got down here when we did it.
A lot of tequila taste testing. That was a lot of different. That was like over like 100 different tequilas I've never seen before.
Well, I imagine in Mexico, tequila is probably one of their big
is.
big
And it's
things that
healthy.
they sell. I wouldn't say healthy. Let's not.
It's the healthiest. If you're gonna drink,
If you're gonna drink it, yeah, it
come
is.
to Cabo and drink some tequila.
According to Gary Brecka, it is the healthiest of all the alcohols.
additives and stuff like that.
Well, that's the other thing we should talk about, because we've been on this health kick. We're doing the Ironman training, right? And Justin's the one that actually pointed it out first. When we looked at a bag of Lay's potato chips, like it literally looks like the Lay's potato chips that you get at home.
Yeah,
It just has Spanish on it, but the ingredients.
3 ingredients.
There was 3 ingredients. Now, like RFK is talking about like how all this stuff, and he's bringing it to light. I think he's doing a good job of kind of showing how much shit they put in our food, the preservatives, and it makes you addicted and makes you want to keep eating it. But even like the Oreos at home, you eat one Oreo, you eat a fucking sleeve of Oreos.
Yeah.
These Oreos here,
Come in like a pack of 8.
they come in a
We
small
had
pack,
enough that there were still left over.
and you eat 2, and you're like, okay, I'm satisfied. But up there, you're just like everything. Like when a potato chip it was 3. It was potatoes. The ingredient list was potatoes, salt, and
I want to say like
like
some,
oil or
yeah,
something,
some
like
oil or
that.
something,
That's
but
it.
That's it. Nothing else.
That's it.
That was. I
And
mean, that was
and they definitely taste a little different, but it's not bad. Nothing's like
I would
bad.
happily buy these and bring them back.
Yeah. I think that's a huge thing, and I think just the lifestyle too. Like everybody walks everywhere. I think that's a huge thing. Like people are. I mean, even down at the marina, Chase and I were down there
Running
this morning
shirtless,
running.
and then they found out the next day that it's frowned upon.
We were running shirtless. We found out that it was a little frowned upon to run shirtless. And what did we do today, Chase?
We ran shirtless.
We ran shirtless again because we are Americans.
That was before or after you're also getting yelled at pickleball for
We were the only.
Oh, yeah.
We were the only people shirtless.
We are the only people shirtless. That's true, but we probably look the best.
They've never seen physique like this down here, dog.
And then we went up to play pickleball, and the girl was like, "Hey, you have to have a shirt on." I was like, "I don't have one." She's like, "Okay, it's fine."
She's like, it's on the sign here.
It's on the sign.
She's like, but you couldn't really see the side of your court that you were on. It was really hard to like.
Yeah, no, it was fine. I mean, everybody, like even she was super nice. It was funny though. This is what I thought was funny about the pickleball thing. So we booked pickleball from 3 to 5, and we went out, and I don't know what we were doing. We just weren't there at 3. There was nobody else on these pickleball courts at all. Not a single person. There was 4 courts, and we got there, and she's like, "Oh, like after 15 minutes, the reservation cancels." And I'm just looking at an empty pickleball court. I'm like,
Yeah, 4 courts.
there's like 4 courts, not a single person. She's like, "I'll rebook your reservation." I'm like, "Do we really need a reservation? Can't we just walk down and play pickleball on the court?"
This should be a
But
pickup game.
they do take it really serious, like all the rules here, which is good because you do have a lot of fancy houses. I'm sure a lot of rich people don't want just people being.
Yeah, you got to think of the ownership and her doing her job. And if the owner came and noticed that she was slipping a little bit, they may be upset with that and potentially risk her
So
losing her job.
what we could do too is we'll have our editor cut in some of the footage from this house that we toured yesterday. This house, so back to some real estate content. This person bought this house for $1.6 million in 2020. All they did was build this terrace with glass walls, which was cool, but the guy said it cost $100K American. And
It wasn't even the best view on the house, though.
yeah, it wasn't the best view, but it was a sick view. It's overlooking the Pacific with all this canyons and everything. And he sold it in 2023 for $4.5 million.
And
So
he didn't even want to sell it.
yeah,
It was just like a massive amount of money.
yeah, he's like, how can you not sell it at that point, right?
When you calculate what it takes to earn that, you're just like.
And the other thing that he was saying when Chase and I ran up there the first time and met him is that the lady who owns all of this land, her dad, like, is a generational thing, but she lives even higher than that house, which is I think one of the highest houses in this little community. She lives in one higher. She owns this entire place, and her dad was a pilot and was flying and just saw this giant rock, basically, is what it is. And he's like, I want that piece of land, and started building these mansions on it, which is like insane to think about the engineering in general, but like to think just like, oh, I'm flying over and I want to buy that mountain. It's like 3 mountains like around, and there's like a valley, and he's like, I'm gonna own that.
And to know that it could become something at one point, because you can be on an airplane and see like different mountains and of no activity, no houses, and
Right.
How would you know? But this is really close to the ocean. I'm looking at an excavator, almost looking like it's going to fall off the side of the cliff. Like, they're just building insane amount of houses over here.
Yeah. He did say so. 95% of these houses are American owned. I imagine that people from California, this is their kind of like Florida, right? Like, it's super close. Yep. I did see when I was ignorantly looking up private jets to get here. It's actually not that bad. To fly from San Diego to here was like four grand on a private plane. So if you're like, $4,000, if you have a family, isn't really that bad if you think about it. If you live in San Diego and you're gonna bring your family down here to fly private, like $8,000 round trip.
That's a pretty quick flight from San Diego, I would imagine. Maybe
this is.
hours.
I imagine it's probably 3 hours. I mean, this is at like the end of that peninsula, so I don't know what it is, but I mean, regardless, Cabo's definitely one of those places that's like just unreal for a quick trip. Even coming from the East Coast, it wasn't that hard to get here. No. Couple flights, you go to Texas, you're halfway there. You go from Texas to here, you're 2 hours away. It really wasn't that bad.
Yeah, it was like a total of 7.5 hours. We almost we literally got off our first flight and had to like rush to the gate.
And get to the second one.
We landed early, like 30 minutes early, but they didn't have any space for us to pull up and
Where was that,
get
in
out.
Cabo?
No, in Texas.
Oh, right, in Texas. Yeah. That would have sucked to miss that flight, because I'm sure there's not a ton of flights that are coming down here. But yeah, no, super easy. And the activities, like today we're going dune buggying? Yeah. Today we're going dune buggying down like in the desert and stuff. And having Juan has been amazing, because all I did was I've been texting him on WhatsApp for the last month or two, and he's like, so what do you guys want to do when you're here? He sent me a menu. He sent me a menu of all the things we wanted. It was like dune buggying, fishing, scuba diving. He just set everything up. Any reservations that we wanted, he set up for us. The private chef, he sets it up, sends me a menu of what we want to eat. The private chef shows up, they do their thing, they cook. It was like you have a personal concierge the entire time you're here. And he manages that $4 million mansion up at the top, and he's like, come on up and use the pool. Come up. We were going to film this podcast up there. It was just a long walk, and we already have the chefs here, so we were just like, oh, we'll just film it here. But just so like welcoming, like they're just.
Yeah, that was such a cool experience, dude. Like, what other vacation do you go on where you stay at $1 million house and the property manager's like, hey, come look at this $4 million house?
And hang out and just come hang out. He's like, you can hang out there all day.
Go look around.
Yeah.
And that one, when we come here next time, we'll have to rent that one. That one's $2,400 a night, and it fits 14 people. So like, even if you got 10 people, that's $240 a person per night. That's not bad at all. To stay at the house that's up at the top of the hill, has 2 pools, looks over basically everything that we see here.
Yeah, I think $2,400 a night for 14 people really isn't that bad. It probably wouldn't be a comfortable 14. Like, this says 8 people, but it's not a comfortable 8, because like we do have people sleeping on couches and stuff here.
Yeah. I guess it would have to be like 14 people, 7 couples basically.
Yeah, couples would work for sure. But $2,400 a night isn't really that bad when you think about it. I mean, this place was like, I think $1,500 a night. So another $1,000 or whatever, you could double your guests easily. But I think the other thing too about coming with like a group of 6 is that you can do all these activities with 6 people. Like fishing was perfect, the boat was perfect for 6 people. Dune bugging, you got 6. It's much easier to move around with a group of 6 than it is with 14 people.
Yeah, sure. Making decisions too.
Yeah, making decisions. Luckily, I am one of the top tier vacation planners around.
100%.
So I had all the decisions pretty much made before we even showed up here in Cabo.
Appreciate that, Ryan.
We were talking about that last night too, which is interesting. Something I didn't think about is like when you come on vacation and you plan everything back to back to back and you stay busy, you don't just sit around and drink like people our age do and then they go to the bar and get drunk. And then you're just like, you're doing the same thing you could have done in America, but in Mexico.
Yeah, I think everybody can relate. Like we've been to bachelor parties or vacations where the people are just like going out and getting drunk, going to the clubs, and then you wake up late. You're wasting half your day. Like
Tyler at right now.
yeah, Tyler's literally still sleeping because he went out late last night. But that to me ruins half the vacation. Like today we got to run, the last couple of days we were running down the marina. We're up early. Yesterday we were up early fishing all day. Like we're getting the maximum amount of time for activities.
And these aren't just regular runs; these are hills.
Oh yeah, there are some hills here. The marina's not too bad, but we ran up this canyon and we'll try to cut in some video of that. That was Justin could vouch. That was a tough hill.
It's like
It
you
was
think
tough to walk.
you're there, and then you turn a corner and you're like, nope, looking up at the next hill.
Now I just know Ryan's time management is horrendous.
I
His
lied.
5-minute run is a Justin 20-minute walk.
Well, okay, to be fair, if I told you how steep and hard it was
Oh,
to
I
get
slowed it
there,
on.
some people might have backed down of
Oh,
that
no. I've
situation.
still been there.
Chase and I were running up there, and
I
he's
didn't
like,
plan my brakes.
Chase and I we were running up there, and I was dying. I'll be honest. Like, I'm in pretty good shape, and I was fucking dying going up that hill. And I was like, we're gonna. I literally said, I think we're gonna have to lie to them about this.
Yeah, that was the first thing I said. I was like, I don't know that they're gonna want to walk this.
Like, we're gonna lie, and
Best
we're
part
gonna
was
get.
I asked Juan, he was like, "Oh yeah, there's pickleball courts, and we saw the ones over there." He's like, "No, it's like uphill." And then I
5-minute
guess
walk.
when you guys figured it out, now I'm like, "Oh, it makes sense how he said it."
That was the other thing. When we were running up there, Juan was driving his car and he was like stopping and waiting for us and pointing and telling us the directions to the pickleball court.
Yeah,
Like
that's
he didn't
true.
have to do that.
He also said, "I'll get you when you get tired." I'm like, "We're not getting tired while we're running up this hill, dude. We're running up this hill." That was pretty epic. I mean, just the whole vibe, and I also love like we're here, like we are talking about work a little bit, you know, here and there because it's just what we do. But like, it's a true like get away from all this stuff. Like my work phone has been on airplane mode. I transferred my number back home to to Jocelyn, who's working and taking all the calls. Like I really haven't done any work besides a couple text messages. You got a couple calls.
We bought a deal.
We did buy a house while we were here. Not a house in Cabo, but we
bought
went.
a deal from our neighbor.
Yeah. Matt Fullerton. Shout out to Matt Fullerton.
Justin got another wholesale deal.
Yeah.
And he's trying to
That we're trying to move right now.
he's trying to move them.
So we are working. Never mind, guys.
Oh, there's still work getting done.
Yeah. There's work.
Tyler's working the most. He works in his sleep. He sleeps 8 hours. He's working those 8 hours. He's on his phone.
He is though, because
2 minutes.
he's on his phone the entire time working, which is like, I get it, but he also, to be fair, I will say, he was away for 2 weeks in Europe. And he got a lot of shit done while he was there too. So that kudos to him for
2
that.
to 8 p.m. he was on his phone. So like when he went to dinner with his family, he said he was on his phone because of the time difference, and the guys were just out working during those hours.
Yeah, he's one of the hardest workers I've ever met. But it is just being a business owner, and people can relate to this. Like when you go away and then you come back, it's the hardest thing. Before you go away, it's the hard because you got to like prep and make sure all the people are ready, and you might not have access to me or to whatever, and then you come back and it's hard because you're playing that catch-up game.
I do feel like when you do go away, it at least helps me think harder and what I can do better to like leave my guys for the period of time that I'm going to leave for.
I think that's a good point. I really do think that you have to practice letting the people do what they're going to do and like giving them autonomy, so then you figure out where those systems are going to break. Like Tyler was gone for 2 weeks in Europe. He came back for 4 days, and then we left for Cabo. And
He didn't even know where he was going. He thought he was in New Hampshire.
Tyler, to be fair, never knows where we're going on vacation until like about a week before. I do tell him like 6 months before when I actually book it, but I know he doesn't like keep a calendar or anything, so I have to
And keep his phone when we're out. He literally, we left the driver, and he left his phone in the van, and he had to come running out. And then somewhere on the boat, he left his shirt and his wallet.
Yeah, so usually like a week or two before, I'm like, hey, just a reminder, we're going to Mexico next week. You're not going to be able to work. Like, because on, on Wednesday, he texted my assistant and in a group chat with me, and he's like, hey, Carl, can you schedule a building inspection for Friday? And I didn't read it for a little while, and Carl then said, yeah, sure, it's scheduled for Friday. And then I finally got to the text message and read it, and I was like, Tyler, you're in Mexico on Friday. You can't do a building inspection. And I was like, Carl, can you cancel it and make it for next week, please? And that's literally what we had to do. So he literally on Wednesday did not know that he was going to Mexico on Friday. But he came, and we have to bring some extra things for him sometimes, like toothpaste and stuff like that. But he got his ass here, and it worked out. So, but yeah, that the whole like just planning vacations and having it in the books, I think, is another thing. Like as soon as we get done with this one, I already start looking for the next one. And it's the same thing with like these races and stuff, like the Ironman, like any of this triathlon stuff. Like when you have something in the calendar, it keeps you dialed in. Like if we didn't have that race in Miami in 2 weeks, I probably would be less inclined to go on these runs today and do what we're doing. So I think just to stay motivated, right? Like having something to do.
Yeah, and just find your way of being motivated, whether it's planning that trip, like you mentioned, working out, or just setting a goal and like taking baby steps to get there and hitting those steps each time to kind of give you that motivation to keep moving.
Yeah, and it's like it's a reward too, not only to like be able to like, it's blessed that we're able to bring everybody here, but like, you have to reward yourself. Even if you don't have like money to do some crazy trip, you have to do something. Like I forget it, maybe we were listening to a podcast, Nick, or we interviewed somebody that they were saying like every time they buy a house, they like do something. Like they buy a house and they celebrate it by like going to dinner or going on a weekend trip or taking their wife somewhere or like buying their wife a little gift or something like that, just to like, because it is, what we do is a grind.
Dude, you have to have a special type of woman on your side for entrepreneurs like us, because we're all working always, even here.
It is definitely a thing you need to do. You need to reward yourself, and I think starting small, like even just like with a dinner or just with what a company, like bringing people together. And another thing too, like we all kind of work together. I mean, besides Nick, even though we do work together in some ways with the podcast and subcontracting stuff, but like, Adam's over there in the background, Tyler's here, the sales guys are here. Like we don't really go to an office every day and see each other. Like Adam's on the road every day managing projects. You guys are selling from wherever you're selling, going to houses, walking houses. It's not like an office situation where everybody's getting that camaraderie every day. Yeah. So like bringing...
You got to really have that self-motivation. Mm-hmm. It does make it easier, working with Chase and stuff, because at least it's like when we get our like cold calling sessions and stuff like that.
Yeah. No, and I, like you said, Ryan, like celebrating small wins, even celebrating like birthdays, basically. Like there's a lot of people who have birthdays and then you just like pass it off. But to have that celebration of wins and like birthday moments, like you should do that, because it kind of just like gets you motivated. Yeah. When you don't celebrate your wins, you kind of just like mellow out and you don't have anything really exciting to look forward to, because the excitement comes when you do have these celebrations.
Yeah, it's definitely true. And if you don't do it, you will eventually burn out, I think. Because like I like traveling, I like seeing different places. Also, selfishly, all these trips that I always book for the company are fishing related trips, because we go to I love seeing people throw up. But
I actually didn't get sick in Hawaii when we went on the fishing trip, so I don't know what it was here.
You did sleep a lot though. So some people do get seasick and not sick like throwing up, they just fall asleep. Like my wife Paige, she'll come out on these trips and she like likes being on the boat and stuff, but as soon as we get offshore, she just falls asleep. And it's not like she's sick or anything, she just falls asleep. But the way I look at it, I'm a fisherman. I like going on fishing trips, and most people enjoy it. And it's like a once-in-a-lifetime experience for some people to like go out there and do that shit. So selfishly, we do these fishing trips. that's what's next year. I think I'm looking at Panama. Maybe come back here. I mean, honestly, there's probably stuff here that we missed. We didn't get to the beach. We didn't do a couple of things that I would have liked to do, but the 4-day trip is nice and it's easy to plan. Highly suggest. I'll try to get Ezekiel to put the link of this place in there for anybody that wants to come here, because I haven't had a Airbnb or whatever you call it, VRBO experience like this one.
No, I think I was asking you the other day, like, how did you plan this? Like, how did you come up with this? And you're like, oh, I just booked on VRBO. I was like, no way you booked accommodations like this just on VRBO. That's pretty cool.
So yeah, so what happened was I booked it on VRBO, and then I started messaging the host, who is not Juan. The host was like the actual owner, who's an American guy, and then he just texted me Juan's like WhatsApp number, and he was like, hey, text him with whatever you need, introduce yourself. So I just introduced myself, and then he literally sent me like a PDF of just anything we wanted. Like if you wanted to go horseback riding, if you wanted the private chef, if you wanted this, whatever. So I just went through and I looked at the calendar and I just booked everything out. The private chef for dinner, for breakfast. We're going out to a really insane dinner tonight. You guys are going to be in for a huge treat. It's going to be the most romantic thing we've ever done with all of our boys.
Is that like a sunset, right?
It's called Sunset Mona Lisa. It's literally a restaurant built on a cliff with glass walls so you don't fall off. But like it overlooks the Cabo Arch where everybody takes their like pictures and stuff. We're probably going to be the only group of like guys going there together tonight. Everybody else will either be getting engaged. They're gonna wonder why we're there. But it's a 7-course chef select meal, so you don't even pick. You don't pick what you're gonna eat. You just are gonna like it no matter what. And they're course after course. Every course is paired with a different wine. It's gonna be epic. I did it with Paige, and I was like, this is not a place that you should probably go with all your homies, but I'm gonna bring them. I'm gonna bring them all here because this is just too good to be true.
So let me ask all of you guys something. Do you guys think there will be a time in your life where you will hire a private chef?
Yes.
100%.
100%.
I'd already looked into it prior to this, dude. But
Yeah,
this,
we were
like,
talking, Justin, and you.
100% like confirmed. I was
Yeah,
like, dog.
you said about 60 grand. I haven't looked into it, but I know you mentioned about 60 grand for them.
Well,
Yeah, it's 60
didn't
for
we
them to
talk
just
about
work,
this
and
a
then
while
you gotta
back, me
supply
and you?
food all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
But there are options with that too, because we had a private chef come over for my birthday, and that was unbelievable. Like he was really
Dude,
good.
the fruit was crazy. Like
Yeah.
he was buying fruit from like this Chinese supermarket, and the fruit was amazing.
Just like things that you don't even think about, like the way that he loves food and like uses science to like make it. Like one of the ingredients that he used in this like braised like short rib thing or whatever was like milk chocolate. And it like you couldn't taste it, but you knew like there was something different about this meal. And even like Eric, dude, like this chef here, he truly loves the craft and everything being so fresh.
And he really explained everything like afterwards. Like,
Yeah. And
so into it.
And honestly, like, I don't want to sound ignorant, like $60K is not a lot of money to spend, but if you think about getting a chef for 60 grand and every single meal that you eat is clean,
Lunch, dinner.
healthy, portion controlled with fresh ingredients, it's really not that much money.
Okay, so if a chef is 60 grand a year, what would you think someone would have to make per year to justify having a chef for 60,000 a year?
Depends on their expense. That's a loaded question. I think it depends on.
No. Well, not. Give me a price range, because you can't make 100 grand a year and do it. You can't make 200 grand a year and do it. So what would you guys say?
That shit's your net on your.
I mean,
the net on the 1040.
I don't like talking on air about like how much I make, but
Well, no. How much would somebody have to make,
Yeah,
in your
I'd say
opinion?
comfortably to bring
I would
that
say
in,
about
you gotta make
500
profit.
grand.
500, yeah. But even at 500, dude, like I don't even say it, but like we make that, and I'm not gonna hire a private chef. You know, like I think that's like what is that? Almost a fifth, because you got to remember the 60K is the labor. You still got to buy the food, so you're spending 100K a year. I think you probably it's close to a mil.
But you're buying food anyway, like whether you're shopping and making it.
That's true. I mean, I don't know, maybe a mil a year comfortably. That's like clear
Half,
without.
I think you can like get to that entry point.
And there's also a difference between like somebody that's making $1 million a year, like for our company, and versus like what you are actually not reinvesting and putting into your own pocket, right? Because like our company makes a lot of money, 7 figures, but we're not seeing that because we reinvest it. So like maybe later in life when that money's sitting there and it's really not getting constantly churned and burned, like all the money you make, you buy more houses with, right? Like if you took less 60K every year instead of buying that many houses, you did it with Private Chef, that would hurt a little bit. But there's also other options, dude. There's these chefs that'll come in and just cook your meal prep for you, and
the meal prep chef.
that's actually something that I have been thinking about recently. Now that I'm into like really getting dialed in with my health.
Macros out for you.
Yeah, they count your macros for you, and then you go and they either come to your house or you go pick it up, and you have your meals for the week. I think that service is something that there's a bug on me here. That service is something that most people can probably afford if they wanted to, and not have to go eat the shit food that we're fed in all these restaurants. And even restaurants, dude, like they're using foods with like preservatives and stuff. With the chef that you hire, you can literally basically just like use organic, all the organic stuff. There he is.
Is that a beer?
There he is. Tyler's up.
That's our buddy Tyler.
Yep. What an epic.
What an entry.
What an epic entry. Mid podcast, cracks a beer, cracks a cerveza.
Tyler, come here.
920. Yeah, get him in that wide angle. Make sure he's in the wide angle. Oh man. That's epic. And then
Drops the mic.
he drops the mic and leaves. I hope one of these cameras got that. That was funny. I guess he is up from his slumber. He doesn't. No. You're saying feeling. He doesn't ever not feel good.
Okay.
That's the problem. That's literally like he is one of the craziest specimens that I've ever had the pleasure of being with for the last 8 years. That can go out until fucking 4 in the morning and get completely blacked out, and then wake up at 7 and be at work. Yeah. But the problem with that is he'll do that like with people that we work with or work for us. It can't bounce back like that, and then he gets mad at them.
I know. When we were out last
because
night,
he's so good at that.
I'm like, I'm tired. I want to go back. He's like, where do you got to be? Could I get one more?
I'll try one. Yeah. Yes, please. 3? You want one?
Thank you, Eric.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Eric.
Eric.
I don't usually drink coffee, but I think I got it.
Dude, this is amazing.
I know, Chase, you needed some yesterday, and so did I. And
Yeah, the fish kind of got to me. We had a lot of fish day one coming here.
we had the fish tacos at the restaurant, and then we had...
I mean, I don't know how you can come here and not eat fish.
Yeah.
There's literally just fish everywhere. Yeah. Like we were running on the marina the first day, and there's just like people are carting in marlin, tuna. Like it is.
Before we came here, I didn't know that it was like a fishing town.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I did. Yeah, it's a fishing town. It's literally the fishing town.
Yeah, I mean the restaurant we went to, it's literally like you catch your own fish, they'll cook it for you.
Yeah.
Which is
Cool. But yeah, the back to the private chef thing, because I'm really intrigued with this. I also just thought of like, what if you had a couple of us, right? We live within 15 minutes of each other. I'm sure you can split one.
Find something, yeah. Have
right?
them come and just do it all at one.
Well, yeah, like if my family eats dinner at 7 and you eat dinner at 6, we could, you know what I'm saying? They could be prepping, and I mean he's got a little helper there. I'm sold on that.
Yeah.
I
wonder how much Eric would charge, or if he would even consider moving to like a full-time position.
I was like, how much to get you on a plane?
Yeah. But like even just like to ask him, like if you were to come to the United States and work full-time for one person, how much would you charge? Just out of curiosity, you know what I mean?
I don't think he can answer that because he doesn't know how much it costs to live in the United States.
Mm-hmm. Well, if we provided housing for him, maybe that might change a little.
I got a great deal on Curly.
Yeah, we could sell him a house.
So, I guess in your opinion, hiring a private chef, it would obviously get your time back, and I guess it would it'll make you eat more healthy food. But what's the more important thing, the time back, or having somebody like focus on the most healthy foods that you can eat?
Both. I think it's the combination of the two. One is the
Well, it's
the time
definitely,
and
yeah,
the
that's the
value
definitely
add.
two benefits of
But
it.
if I'm not going
But like,
to the
what's the
grocery
more
store-
important to you guys?
Yeah,
Would it be the time back that you're getting, or the health of the food that you're going to be cooking?
I'll be honest, I'm a takeout king, dog. If my
Mm-hmm.
wife wants something, I'll just order it. Like, oh, you want a steak from this restaurant?
I do
Get it.
spend a good amount of time cooking at home, especially. Oop, got a Venmo.
Time, yeah, I would say time. The grocery shopping is huge. Like my wife goes to 3 different groceries. She goes to Aldi,
Yeah, you
Sam's
can't
Club,
get it at the same place
Walmart.
anymore.
And depending on what she's getting, she goes to different. So like having her not have to do that, and
What would she do with that time back that she would be getting?
she could do anything she wanted. Like that's all she does right now. And so like it takes up a bunch of her time. I come home, she's cooking us 3 different meals at the same time because she's meal prepping us for the week. And so she's cooking me breakfast, lunch and dinner, and herself lunch and dinner. So she's making 4 different meals typically. And it takes 2 days to do all of that.
Ryan, who goes shopping? Is it you that goes shopping, or Paige, or a combination?
So I
For Ryan and
I order my groceries for delivery. I started doing that, man, and it does cost a little bit more, but I'm like time. Thank you, Eric.
This is actually Chef Eric. Shout out Chef Eric.
Yeah, here he is.
I'll give you this. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
If you think about like how much time I save by ordering groceries and then not having to drive, sit in traffic, whatever, they just get delivered to the house. I'm telling you, I probably save like 2 to 3 hours a week. And you know, it doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're working and like when you're doing what we're doing, you're putting a strain on your relationships no matter what, right? With friends, your wife, with whoever, family, and every minute really does count. So for me to spend, I think the Instacart membership's like $100 a year, and then it's like a $6 or $7 surcharge, then you tip the person. So you figure you're probably spending an extra $15 a grocery haul, right? So you go and get, and you could get from Costco, you can get, so if you spend $200.
It's just that delegating we do in our business anyways, right? Like,
Yeah,
we're
it's
not
the
gonna
same-
Sit there and make thousands of phone calls to unqualified leads.
Right,
When
yeah,
you
yeah,
just
we
$3
hire the
an
cold
hour to do
callers.
it. I'd rather just pay somebody to do that.
Well, the other thing is like thinking about like I don't like to eat the same meal every week back to back. I can't do it. So like being able to push that to somebody else, to a chef or whatever, that would take so much mental strain off of me because Kristen's always coming to me like, hey, what do you want this week? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, can we like we're using Chat GPT to figure out my meals. I'm
That was my
using
text this
TikTok.
morning,
Like,
Literally,
it's-
what do you want for lunch this week? I'm like,
yeah.
I don't fucking know. Just grab something.
Right. And
Yeah. And you know what? When you're a trained chef, you think differently about food. So you're the combinations of food. Like we can get the same thing. This is what I noticed like last night when we were like, hey, what are you gonna make for breakfast? Like look in the fridge what we have. Like, and he's like, oh, I'm gonna use this for this. And we don't think that way. We're like, oh, it's turkey. We got to make a turkey sandwich. He's like, oh, I'm gonna chop it up. I'm gonna do this. And like, you know, if you're classically trained like that, it's it's like putting somebody in front of a piano that's never played a piano versus somebody that's been playing the piano for fucking 20 years. They're going to be able to put different sounds out than you are.
So we're gonna be renting Dune buggies later, and Ryan is just trying to get into race car. So hopefully he doesn't take it too hard on the Dune buggies today, and flip or anything. But
So I did recently learn how to drive race cars thanks to my brother-in-law who brought me in. I joined this BMW club with him because you have to join this club to be a part of the track. And I went to the track. I don't know if we've talked about this on the podcast, but it is invigorating. So like you think you can drive fast and it's cool. You're sitting on the highway and you take off, or you're sitting at a red light, you take off, and that's one thing. But this shit is crazy. You're on a 2-mile track, so 2 miles. There's 19 turns, and you're driving at like insane speeds that you've never driven at before, and then you're slamming on the brakes, making 90-degree turns, and then I thought I was doing good. Like I thought I was good at it. You think you're like good at this thing, Tyler, and
I'm holding out until Nick lowers his terms on Halliburton.
all right, let's talk about it. Come on.
yeah, you want to talk about the deal?
about it.
Dude,
Why don't you put a shirt on so you don't?
Right now.
Put a shirt on so you don't scare anybody. But yeah, I went and drove with the instructor after I got done driving, and I thought I was like king shit driving this car, and you're like ripping around the turns at 80 miles an hour, and you get with them, and they're like twice as fast as you, and you're like, I'm like literally at this point you're strapped in, you have a helmet, and the helmet's strapped to the seat, so you can't like move your head or anything, and I'm sitting there like just holding on to like whatever I can, and they're doing 100-mile-an-hour 90-degree turns, just spinning. And it was like a roller coaster ride, the most invigorating roller coaster ride ever. And of course, I'm like not even a car guy. The second I come home from this fucking weekend, I am searching up BMWs. I'm looking at Porsches. I'm like, oh my God, another expensive fucking hobby to.
Yeah, I'm sure Paige is loving that.
Oh, dude. You know what sucks? This is another thing that sucks. All of the fun hobbies are so expensive.
Yeah.
Like we fish. Okay, I had to buy a boat. You go golfing. Every time you have a $2,000 set of golf clubs, you have to still pay $120 to go play.
Or you're losing $20 balls.
Right.
You lost like what, 4?
Oh yeah, golf tournament the other day. I lost 4 or 5 Pro V1s. I was like, oh, there's another $25 off the it's just expensive. So if anything's motivating, find some fun hobbies to do, and you will forever be motivated to keep making money because you can't afford to do. Yeah, like just the race car thing too. Like we did 1 day of racing with the one car. So I raced one car all day. I had 4 different track sessions. 4 track sessions of 30 minutes. We had to change the brakes completely. They were brand new the second I started. That first day that I finished, so it was a 2-day event, we changed the brakes and the tires. So all 4 tires and the brakes had to be completely changed brand new.
At whose
So-
expense? Is that included in the fee that you paid to?
Yeah, because I rented the car. It was $1,500 for the weekend, and they supplied the brakes and the
So the
stuff.
owner of the car was there with you? Is that who it was?
Yeah, so it's like a company. It's called Let's Go Racing. He's out of Virginia, and he owns like several souped up like race cars. He's got this crazy like Toyota Supra with like 650 horsepower.
Did you get to choose the car that you were going to be in?
Yeah, I got to choose. They had BMWs, it's a BMW club, so there's a lot of BMW M2s, M3s, M4s. I chose the Camaro because I wanted to drive stick, and the other ones had like the paddle shifters in them, and I was more interested in, I used to have a manual car, so I like driving manual, and the Camaro was this like souped up SS. It had like, I think 550 horsepower and a bunch of torque, and it was, that was like cool, so that's the car that I picked. But yeah, I could have picked any other car. The Supra was like $3,500 for the weekend. Like there was different tiers, obviously.
Did you ask him about how the insurance works in that scenario?
Yeah, you have to get track insurance, it's called.
Okay, so that helps cover if there's a bad accident.
So I learned about that. So like basically like my father-in-law has a BMW M2 that he races like pretty consistently, but he also drives it on the road like a regular car. Mm-hmm. Some of the cars, they're not even like legal to drive. Like my brother-in-law's car, he had to trailer it there. And it's literally it's an older BMW that's stripped completely. It's got no, like instead of the radio and like tape deck or whatever you want to call it, it has a screen there that's just for time. So it has like how fast it's actually a Garmin, and it's like, it tells you how fast your times are for each lap, and it tells you your delta, whether you did a faster lap or a slower lap than the last one. It's like a game, it's like a video game. But I learned that track insurance, so they had these crazy cars there, like all sorts of cars, but track insurance only covers you up to $250,000. So you can't have a car unless you're like super baller and don't give a shit. Because we watched cars crash. Like there was a car that literally went right off the track and crashed into the wall, and they said it was going to be like, it's definitely going to be totaled. Like that track insurance covers it, but you can buy track insurance per day, or you can buy it for like the whole year. But I imagine it's expensive. But that came with that thing. I think I paid a total of like $2,500, including the car, the BMW club entry, which is good for like a year, and gas. So that was the other thing. Use it was a 2-mile track for 30 minutes. So you're driving for 30 minutes, full tank of gas, basically a full tank of gas. Because you can't go out there with less than like a certain amount because they don't want you like breaking down or whatever. So I think I was using like 3/4 of a tank, and you can't go out there with less than a half a tank. So it's like they don't allow you to. So every single session, every 30-minute session, you had to fill up 3/4 of the tank of gas. So definitely not
an expensive hobby.
Yeah, it's an expensive hobby. That's why I'm holding off. I've been looking, and you know what? If you don't want to do something, like I really don't want to buy this car, don't join the clubs on Facebook, because I'm joining all these different groups on Facebook, and now all I see is Porsches and BMWs for sale, and it's really hard to stay away. But I'm seeing them, I'm like, oh man, that would be nice. And Adam and I are looking at it, I'm like, oh, what about this one? And what about this one? I'm like, shit, I'm gonna fucking buy a car.
Next thing you know, you need a trailer to tow the car.
Oh no, yeah. That's how the boat happened. That's how
your truck happened.
I promised myself that I wasn't going to buy a boat. So many of the listeners probably know I started, I was a boat captain. I was working on boats. I was driving people's boats. It was great because I didn't have to pay for anything. I was getting paid to bring people out on their boats, and they were like big, fishing boats and whatever, private boats. I would teach people how to drive their own boats. And then we went to Florida, and I rented a boat in St. Pete. You were there, right? I think you were there. Yeah. We rented a boat, and it was a 22-foot center console, and we were in this like crazy chop, and you know my boat. It does so well in this chop, and it started just throwing this water, and it reminded me of a 50-foot like custom Carolina boat that's like millions of dollars, the way that it just cuts through the water. I came back home, and I was like, Paige, I think I'm gonna buy a boat. And she's like, okay. Because she knows it's like a passion of mine. I stopped, because the business got too busy, I really stopped working on boats. And I was not really getting out as much as I would have liked to get out on to fish. We have boats that, like her family has boats that we get to use, like wake surfing boats and cruisers and stuff like that. But I wanted a fishing boat. This boat was like the most amazing 22-foot boat that I ever saw. Just because I rented it, I came back, I was like, I'm buying a boat. She said, okay, great. I found a boat in Pompano Beach, like just north of Fort Lauderdale. And I said, I'm going to go buy this boat. And then I realized that my truck that I had at the time didn't have the capacity to tow the boat. So I said, I don't know if I even told her about the truck until after I did it. But then I went and I bought a truck. A real expensive.
Yeah, not just a
truck.
Not just the truck.
A real expensive truck. And then I came back and I said, hey, well, what happened was I didn't bring it home that day because I had to order it, and like they didn't have that truck. And I came back and I was like, Paige, I may have bought a truck. She's like, you may have bought a truck? No, yeah, I bought a truck because I had to, because I couldn't go tow the boat back from Florida without the truck. But now in hindsight, it was genius. Chase and I were talking about this yesterday. If I had bought the truck first, there was no way she would have let me bought the boat. So I really pulled some.
She would have been like, yo, you just bought a $90,000 truck. You're not buying a boat too. That would have been crazy. So that was smart thinking. So buy the car first, and then the trailer will come. But you have people.
No, buy the trailer first, and then say I gotta fill it with something.
I'll buy a car trailer without a car, and then I'll be like, Paige, why I can't have a car trailer without a race car to trailer it, and then I have to buy the race car. That's it. No, I'm trying to be strong about buying things. I think that's one of the hardest things when like the lifestyle inflation. We always talk about like don't do it. Your lifestyle creeps. And we've been running this podcast for 3 years now, right? Yep. And we're in the beginning, we're like, you got to stay focused and building. But eventually it gets to a point where if you don't spend it, you have to enjoy it. You have to enjoy it. Yeah. You have to enjoy it. You have to be able to do things. You have to be able to bring your friends and people that work with you. And like none of our business, like I was telling Justin last night, he was like thanking me for bringing him. I was like, none of this would even be possible without the people that are here. Yeah. Like I can't do all this shit myself. Tyler can't, even though he thinks he can. He can't do all this without everybody. Like it's a village. It takes a team, and if the team's not motivated, it's like sports too. Yeah. If you have a shitty coach and like a shitty group of people that are all like, you know, you think about the all-star teams, right? Like those teams probably wouldn't be the best teams because there's one person that thinks they're
Yeah,
like,
think Nick Saban and the Bama run. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he was a great coach and
yep.
that kind of
So eventually you gotta spend it, and
Not all of it though.
Not all of it.
And you
no,
got to
no.
be very careful of that point that you get. You have to understand that point that you're going to be at before you start spending. Like you don't want to do it too soon.
Yeah, to be fair, like we could talk about Nick again. Like we talked about this on the podcast a bunch. Nick was living in a small ass condo. Actually, first, Nick didn't own any house like that he lived in. He owned 20 houses first.
So well, it was 7 houses before I moved out of my parents.
Okay, so yeah, so Nick owned 7 rental properties, which is some people's lifelong goal, before he moved out of his parents' house. Wow. So that's like just in itself self-control, because you don't want to be living at home, but you're building this thing, so you have to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll wrap it up for the chef in a couple minutes, but the fact that you did that and held off, and then you moved into a very conservative little condo for a little while, and lived there for how many years?
4.5 years.
Lived there for 4.5 years. You had a kid, you know, you had to make sure you were, providing for them, and you lived there for a while, and now you bought a big $1 million house on the water.
Yeah. And it wasn't even planned. Like I would have been fine living in the condo for a few more years, but that house popped up on the auction website, and I had to tour it the day before it went up for auction. I'm like, man, I gotta get this house.
Yeah. So and then that was like your reward. And now what I also find too, and I can close with this, and everybody can kind of weigh in, is like when you do make that, like Chase just bought a Tesla. When you do make that big purchase, when I bought that truck and I knew that I have to justify buying this truck, I was working my ass. I was like grinding. I was like, okay, I bought a truck and a boat, and I got all this other shit I got to pay for, and make sure that all my people are still paid. Like that in itself is motivating. I think.
Yeah, you gotta be careful too of like being around people like you and Nick and Tyler. Like the comparison is the thief of joy. Like me, like just getting to where I'm at. It's hard to have that self-control, but you really got to make sure you're dialing back and making smart, educated decisions. And you do have to enjoy life a little bit, but there's a point where you have to be responsible as well.
Yeah.
And so like the Tesla purchase was basically just an equity swap from my other car. And so like I didn't really do anything crazy besides bump my monthly insurance up a couple bucks.
Yeah.
And it's gonna save me gas, and it was more of like all right, we're looking at a ton of homes. I'd rather drive something that's more economically sound.
And there's a certain, like, when you're in our business, unfortunately, this is a true thing. There's a image that you should be, if you pull up to $1 million listing that you're trying to lock in, and you're in a beat up old car, that person that looks at you is looking at you differently than if you pull up in a Tesla or a Mercedes or a BMW, whatever, so that is. But yeah, you definitely, and I do this myself, and I have to dial myself back, is like when you compare yourself to other people, because we're doing fine, but we're not. There's levels, man. Like there is so many levels, and if you look up and you're comparing yourself to that next level, it'll murder you. You'll be demotivated because you're like, well, why don't I have that? And like I said this to you a million times, like, dude, I've been doing this shit for 10 years. Yeah. You came in, you literally just quit your job and started doing this full time 5 months ago. Yeah. So like you can't compare yourself to anybody else. You just have to like stay on track, grind, and make shit happen.
Yeah. I mean, Justin's been killing it in sales. He was a car salesman for years, and I just got out of the Air Force in April, and like I compare myself to him sometimes. Like, why am I not that type of savage that just is on the phone being ruthless?
Yeah,
but
Justin has been a blessing to us because he has so many skills with sales. Not only are you a savage, but like just knowing how to talk to people, from like being in car sales, which is probably one of the toughest industries to sell stuff in, and coming in and like, I mean, the first month that he was with us probably made $50,000 in profit margins. Like,
what are you're on your second transaction sold, right? after only getting your real estate license a couple months ago.
Yeah.
I mean,
like licensed for like 3-4 months. Had a buy side. Had a listing.
Yeah. The first month he gets his license, has a listing, has a buy side, wholesaled a couple properties. Like we're waiting on a wholesale fee of 15 grand. That was like from the first week you were working with us.
And it was a deal that we couldn't like. That was a dog of a deal.
Yeah.
Like, we can't get this done. I was like, give it to me. I got it.
Yeah.
That
is
shit
true.
done, dude.
All right, well, we're gonna wrap it up. We'll be back with some more content. I'm gonna post some stuff from the other activities and stuff, but we'll wrap this thing up here. And till next time, guys, back in America.